Hi, happy day. Thank you for visiting Synchronicity Sagas, where numbers weave through real life in ways that are weird, wild, and sometimes so ordinary you'd miss the message if you weren't paying attention. I'm Miriam, your numerology nerd and cosmic hype woman, and I'm sitting down with real people, real stories, and real numbers to uncover the patterns that shape our lives. Because let's be real, coincidences are just lazy synchronicities waiting to be noticed, and once you see the pattern, that's where the magic kicks in. So let's get into it. Today we hear from me. This is going to be a little bit different. As you can see, not too much different because I'm still here, but as in, I'm not really going to be interviewing anyone. I think that once I do this one podcast with myself, then it will open up the opportunities for other people to come in and do their interviews. It seems that there's been a blockage for quite a few of you. Um, it's funny, I have quite a big list of people who want to be interviewed, very much so. And all of y'all are just as much apologetic because things keep happening and stuff in life, guys. So it's life. Just, it's okay. I'm not mad. I promise you, I'm not mad. And I do my best to listen to my guides as well. A lot of times, whenever we have chatter from so many other people's guides, it kind of, even your therapist has to go see a therapist. And yeah. So I'll just kind of ramble for about an hour on this, but talking about the synchronicities in my life that have led me to this point, essentially. So, my name is Miriam, and I was born in the front seat of a Cadillac in the middle of the blizzard, barreling down the highway. When my mom went into the hospital, they thought that she was much younger than she was. She was 22, but they thought she was like 14 because she looked so young. And they were like, oh, this is going to take you forever. And they sent her home with a sleeping pill. And whenever she woke up, I was on the way. Now, even in my birth, now that I'm older and I'm here now and I can look back, I can find all the dichotomy in it. Because somehow I was both early and late at the same time and exactly on time. I went from my mother's warm womb, then the battle of birth, into a freezing environment. When I was maybe in my 20s or so, I saw that I was born in Mercury retrograde. And there was a lot of miscommunication during that time, and Mercury retrograde is all about miscommunication. And even whenever I was younger, there were times that I just wasn't good at communicating. Granted, I was a baby. But years of that's how I developed my communication, was almost a backwards way. And it's things that I got so frustrated about. It's something that I cursed about myself a lot. Being misunderstood. And I didn't know at the time, but I've learned much more of my story now. That my ability to navigate miscommunication or altered communication was going to be a big reason why I could connect with my mother, because she kind of communicates differently. thing and that and stuff. And what am I trying to say? And I do it too. And then when I became a mother to my daughter, she was born in a way that made it to where her communication still to this day is going to be different from people's, but I'm the one who gets to understand her the most. I can hear her when she needs to be heard, and even if I can't get the exact words, communication can still be had, and it's still very nice. Whenever I found out I was pregnant with her, I had a dream. It was the night I don't know. I woke up from a dream where I had given birth in my bed to this baby, and it had big brown eyes and long eyelashes and dark hair and a big Victorian collar around their neck. And I breastfed my baby, and I could feel the milk let down. It was so strange. I had never breastfed before. I'd never been pregnant before or anything like that, but I experienced it all. It was a painless birth. In the dream, she was just born, and she had a Victorian collar, those big ruffly ones. I took a pregnancy test, and as soon as I did, the line immediately appeared. It wasn't even like a small thing, it was immediate. So I was like, oh, I must be like far along. And whenever I went in to check, I wasn't that far along. I was like 4 or 6 weeks. I was like very new. And so people were like, oh, you must be having twins. You must be having twins. And I grew so fast, like my stomach grew so fast that my stretch marks showed before I was even 20 weeks pregnant. I think I was 12 weeks pregnant when my first stretch marks around my belly button started to come in. There were all these little signs that she was giving me that she was growing more rapidly than the average child. And every time I would go to sleep, I'd have all these nightmares of the zombie apocalypse, of something terrible happening. And we were always surviving, but it was still so scary. So I became a prepper. And so I'm ready for the apocalypse, essentially. Not really. I mean, the apocalypse happens every day. The end of the world for someone is every single day. So but I would prep and prep and prep and prep. And all this time, I was vomiting. I was so sick. I was so sick. I had hyperemesis or hyperemesis. And so they gave me this pill to take. And they said, take it every morning for nausea. This is Zofran. You let it dissolve under your tongue, and then you'll be able to eat. And then, you won't die. And your baby will be okay. And she is. Oh, I'm recording on that. Okay. And she is. She is okay. We have no idea at all what caused this specific anomaly. It's an anomaly, and they don't really know what causes it. I wish I could say I knew for sure, um, but I don't. So sometimes I still wonder if it's because of all the Monster Energy drinks I had growing up, all the ways that I just didn't take care of myself. But really and truly, at that time, those were the things that I was thinking. Now, I mean, I'd like to really admit that that's how I feel, but I don't. I know that my daughter was divinely protected and she was gifted with things. And her journey is her journey. And a big reason why I accepted numbers the way that I did is because while I was pregnant with her, and after we found out at her 20-week scan that she had an impressive, that's what the doctor said. I really like that she said that. An impressively sized mass on her neck. So when doctors said, well, when one doctor in particular was, giving all the things, but he was really leaning heavily towards go to termination. Because he's seen all of the cases. But I would see 1111 on taxi cabs and on buses and on billboards and on monitors and on YouTube videos and Hulu shows, and I still can't watch iZombie because I started watching it while my daughter was in NICU. Good show though, funny show. It just reminds me of sitting in a cafeteria eating my food by myself. And I would get 11:11. And I would get 11:11. I would wake up at 11:11. And whenever I started, this is whenever I really started Googling things like, what does the angel number mean? What does that mean? What does this mean? Why I keep seeing this again? And numbers have always been around. I've always played games with numbers, like a lot. I would look at a clock and I would just keep doing math until it became one number. And sometimes I would take math and so it wasn't quite vortex math. So if it was like 2 3 2 3, I was like, okay, that's 4 plus that's 7, that's 10. But if I just had some random number, I would just decide what number I wanted it to be. So right now it's 12:32. So that's a 332. That's an 8. But if I wanted to, I can make it all 2, or I can make it all. No, I'm gonna start doing my number stuff, and you're gonna glaze your eyes over. It's fine. I just do games. But if there's 2 3s, then that means there's another 2 there as well. So now it's a 22, but also still a 33 with a 2, and so. But I would just do that as a kid. I would do things that would kind of only make sense for like just a kid being a kid and nothing else, so no one would really question it. And also numerology isn't really that big of a deal here. That's more of an Eastern thing, and so whatever. I always knew the number essences. I always could understand the energy of a number. I always could see like this is a specific color, this is that vibe. Like each number had a personality to me, whether or not I was acknowledging it because I wasn't really aware. I wasn't really conscious. I wasn't really awake. 1, 2, 3, 4, as I say this. But as I did more work, after I made the big move to live my dreams and to be the person that I wanted to be, and I was able to accomplish that, then I kind of was launched into what people would call the dark night of the soul, or like into my calling, whatever you want to call it. And I'm jumping around a bit because I really am only just kind of making sense of the synchronicities. We wanted to move to Colorado really bad. And then the job that we were working for decided to open up branches in Colorado. So I went, and whenever I was working, I was working. I was so exhausted. And especially being in a place that's so busy, like opening up those stores in that area. I don't know if I call it metropolitan, but it's a city. You know, cities are citying all the time, and like people's energy are like, "Ugh," and they're just so upset. And whenever I was in Texas, I wasn't in a big city like that. I was near big cities, but I wasn't in big cities. So like it was a huge adjustment moving out here. And so after a while, I realized that I just was not really fulfilled in the job that I was doing. I wanted to do something bigger. I wanted to do something more fun, less adult, honestly, because I was such a freaking grown up my whole life. I was a grown up. I was so responsible and I always got the biggest responsibilities, and I was so proud of that. And then I realized I needed to not be needed anymore. I realized that I needed to take care of I think myself needed me, and I had been abandoning it for so long. So at this point, my partner and I were, well, I was at the point where I was willing to trust the fact that he could take care of us all and pay the bills and all that, and he does. And I was able to be soft and lean into the universe and him and trust that we'll be taken care of, and we were. And it's like the safer I got, the more I broke and fell apart and became confused and scared and alone and misunderstood. And for a whole year, 2 years, I was sick. I was really sick. I was sick, like physically, spiritually, mentally, um, and thank goodness for my support system. You know, because oh, thank you. Thank goodness for my support system because they gave me permission to break. They gave me the security I needed to break. It was like, okay, we know this needs to happen. I just now I'm getting an image of like at like Jewish weddings, they step on glass and but they cover it and they wrap it in things to make sure that people don't cut themselves stepping on glass. I don't know where I'm going with that. But sometimes you have to break, whether it be for ceremony, whether it be so then you can be made into something else. It's easier to melt broken glass shards to make a glass masa so then you can make it into stuff. And sometimes I was that. And perhaps at one point I had been shaped one way and then broken and then shaped again in the fire again and again and again. And now it was my turn to use the materials from all the things that I've learned so that I can blow a new version of myself, I guess. But it hurts to be broken, and the fire is hot, and it's weird to be expanded, even if you're molten. Um, there's like this unbreakable bead of glass that gets created. Like it's just like it's called a something. I can look it up. Unbreakable bead of glass. Rupert's drop. Prince Rupert's drop. It says fascinating example of a glass structure. So, a Glass bead with a long, thin tail. It is a fascinating example of a glass structure that is remarkably strong and yet incredibly fragile, exhibiting the ability to withstand strong impacts but shattering explosively if the tail is damaged. And I think, yeah, I think it even breaks into the bead, right? And they'll like put this thing under the bead itself under hydraulic test and all that, and just wowzers. That's what I'm seeing now. But I just want to be the drop. I don't want to be the tail. I just want to be whatever sculpture I'm meant to be, and maybe I'm not even glass. Maybe it turns out I've been a piece of metal, and instead of just being thrown into the fire and warmed and then blown to whatever shape, I'm being thrown into the fire and then pounded into a shape, and beaten into my purpose. We don't really get to choose what material we're made out of necessarily. But I think a big part of my growth and change of synchronicities was figuring out all the things that I identify with, all the ways that because I'm an empath, I can. I mean, I love the brave little toaster goes to Mars, and I just felt so. I feel everything, the house, the everything, the everything, and it was something that I was proud of until it became something that made me sick. Granted, I also don't eat gluten because gluten does make me sick. I didn't realize that gluten made me sick. And also, baking powder causes celiac disease, which causes people to have gluten intolerances and stuff like that. So, if you are going to be baking, stop using baking powder because it increases your risk to having celiac disease later in your life. Just so you know, I am starting a cult. It will be gluten free and also numbers. I will always give you a reading if you want. If you join the cult, you do have to be 100% gluten free though. And I'll give you a test too. I'll quiz you. Like, are you actually gluten free? Are you actually gluten free? Because what does it cause in your body? No, I'm just kidding. No, not everybody knows. But anyway, that's it. You don't have to do anything else. You can just exist. Um, oh, and no, you would have to share the word on gluten and its evil ways. American gluten. Oh, we should make a movie like that, like American Gangster, but American gluten. Anyway, I don't even know where I'm going with any of this stuff. My first synchronicity, that I really remember, like numbers, is the thing that I call a sandwich number. I didn't start calling that as a kid. It's 626. Experiment 626. Stitch, Lilo and Stitch. And I think a big reason why I liked it so much is because what is that? Is it the strength card? In tarot? I'm not sure. But there's like a woman who is like taming a lion, essentially, like who has a lion who is just relaxed with her and calm with her. And that's what Lilo did. I always like the idea of like taming a wild beast or and I resonated with her from a very young age and Stitch because a lot of my life was already that. It was like the first Disney princess, quote unquote. That was like me. She was little and she was brown and she was a little chubby. Got a little round nose. And her spirit was like mine a little bit. She was loving even though he was scary. And a lot of my life was about balancing other people's emotions, you know, from a very young age. And then it became something that I had to do full time whenever I was, just dealing with an active abuser, Gentle parenting was not quite a thing yet whenever I was being parented. Um, and gentle parenting includes a lot of things. And my mother is now a very gentle parent. Um, but she likes to be honest with me about, she's like, you don't remember things, but I know that I remember things. And you were not necessarily in safe places. She talks about her own stuff. Like, which also is very nice to have a parent who does that, honestly, because it just helps to have a mom who's like, I'm sorry, thank you, I love you. And that really helped form me a lot, is that my mom didn't care if she was necessarily the villain. She was like, okay, I understand. She wasn't trying to feel like I was against her, or she was just for me. She was just for my healing. And so sometimes she understood that she had to be the villain, and sometimes she understood that she had to knock herself off of the hero pedestal that I put her on. So then I could see that being a mother is not being a superhero. Being me does not mean taking on all these responsibilities. I personally am a 9 life path. I didn't really look into my own stuff. I don't really look into my own chart stuff most of the time because I just kind of like being surprised, I guess, or maybe I just don't want anything to tell me who I am. So, although I had done numerology readings for lots of people and all of that, it took me until I would say, about 4 years ago before I really looked into my life path. Because even whenever I was reading other people's life paths and all of that, I don't think about myself. Even if I know that I'm a 9, doesn't mean whenever I'm reading somebody else's 9, I'm paying attention that they're this type of 9. But whenever I read it, it was very validating. 9s tend to get the best of the worst. So like it's like I experienced all the bad things in the world, but like the best version of that. So it wasn't the worst of the worst, like I lost people, I was betrayed, I was hurt, I was all the things, but it wasn't that bad. Like that's what I would tell myself again and again, because it was it was bad. It was bad stuff. And there are bad things like in those same realms, worse things in those same realms. I used to count my blessings all the time because I saw how divinely I was protected despite how in danger I was. Because I think that's the thing that really breaks us is we get older and we realize how bad people are to kids and how much they take advantage of kids, because honestly kids are a little bit dumb. We're just kids, we're just figuring out, like, in the nicest way possible, we're stupid, we don't know anything, and they know stuff, and they knew stuff, and even at those ages, even if they aren't as old as I am now, I knew stuff, I still knew better. Anyway, a lot of those experiences caused me to zoom out so much that I disconnected from my body. Even now, I'm slowly getting back in tune with it. Like, anytime I have like a bowel movement or something, like, or I'm about to, like, I have full anxiety because I'm like, you can feel that? Y'all are supposed to be able to feel these things? Y'all are supposed to be able to feel all these things in your body all the time. You feel your organs. Um, I was also overweight for a long time. I still probably am technically legally, medically overweight or whatever. But I've always been chubby. And for me specifically, the adipose tissue was to defend me and to protect me and to make me bigger. I am admitting that I am not a tall person. And that is something that I have an issue with sometimes. I'm better with it now. I accept it because I know a lot of people want to be shorter. And they think it's cute. And so when people comment on my height, they think it's really, oh, you're so cute. And so I've been accepting that it is something that people find to be endearing or charming. Um, and the reason why I accept it as well is because a big reason why I didn't want to be small was because I was scared of being taken advantage of because I was always small and they were not. And even in the numbers of my height, I can find different messages as opposed to my pretend height, which will remain on my IMBD whenever I get one. Because my aura is very tall, guys. Anytime I tell people my height, they're always very surprised. Um, but I don't come off, it's because I come off tall. I've got big energy. I really have no idea where I'm going with that at all. At all. Just more of, I zoomed out. I zoomed out a lot. So I could see the big picture a lot. And so even whenever it came to my relationships and stuff, it's been something that people get frustrated with because I tend to not really make judgments, but they do feel like I'm making judgments. But I'm like trying to get as much information before I do make a judgment because somebody's got to be the judge, and I will judge you. Um, but when it comes to like having sides or picking sides, I'm not gonna pick sides for people until I know the whole thing. I mean, I will pick sides, but I need more information. And this led me down to this whole journey. All these things, this zooming out, the bigger picture, the being the therapist friend for all of the friends, and going into all of the things that I've learned, even whenever it comes to medical stuff, whenever it comes to Gnostic things. And when I was going 33 minutes as I say this, so whenever I was going through my biggest awakening, I found Astral Doorway on YouTube. And I would sit in my chair in my office and I would listen to his lectures. And I'm PMSing, by the way, and I'm a Pisces, so I do tend to cry in general. But this is all happy tears because it's so funny to think about where I was and how things are so different now. But I would go through and do mantra chants, and he would recommend books, and I would go read those books, and he would recommend other places, and then I would go there. And so then I found Glorianne, and I would listen to Glorianne's lectures, and I read the book by Manchak about healing love through the Tao, and then I was in the Tao, and all these connections to Akashic Records and the astral and all the things I had done throughout my life just was like, all these dots were connected. Like, it was just like, oh, oh. And then it was just like, here's your calling, here's your thing, you're supposed to do this. These are all the people. Look at all the faceless people. Look at all the millions of people that you're supposed to help. That is too much responsibility. And that's what it felt like. And it scared me. And it scared me and it scared me and scared me until I was shown, girl, you don't gotta be in their faces. That's why they remain faceless sometimes. Like, you are able to help people that you will never know. You may help people long after you're dead because you're just simply out there saying the things, doing the things, making the impressions on human beings. People remember me, and all of those things. So it was very nice to see that, you know, I was having an impact and the universe was saying, this is your impact. This is who, this is your gift. This is who you're allowed to be. And then I got more scared because that's what the ego does, right? It just makes you more scared again and again until you stop growing because it's so tired of growing. So, presently, right now in my life, I am still growing. I am still sometimes having stagnation. I still have panic attacks and overloads, and I sweat so much that my armpit hair like just but doesn't turns it turns like I have to get rid of it. um I have anxiety attack or panic attacks anytime I have tummy troubles. I have tummy troubles. I still sometimes have people's other people's energies affect me, and that frustrates me and it hurts my feelings. And sometimes I'm petty, and sometimes I remove myself from people, and sometimes the universe removes me from them. And sometimes I really feel like I'm in control, and most of the time I'm just being reminded to just stop trying to do so much that isn't for me. Stop paying attention to things that don't serve me. If I'm paying my attention, then I'm buying that experience as what was I just literally just watched this video. Something in steel, couture and steel. I'm pretty sure um, was talking about that, and that's something that really helped too. Presently, I'm gonna continue writing my story, and it's gonna be a good one because I'm a good writer, and the main character's pretty legit. And when it comes to the future, I get to look back on this version of myself and be proud of how fucking cool she was, even if I don't realize it now. Because that's what always happens. I always look back on myself as a younger version of me, or, and I don't look at myself with disgust or disdain or hatred, but like, damn, girl, you did it. You did it, and you keep doing it, and you're so amazing. This year, I am in a 4 year. So I'm doing the work that's put ahead of me. That's why I started my YouTube channel. Well, I had already started it, but that's why I continued my YouTube channel. That's why I've been consistent but imperfect. Showing up with my hair undone, showing up with my nose full of snot, with bad angles and bad lighting. It doesn't matter if I can do the things, it's just I don't do the things because I don't need to show up beautiful for some people to hear me. And if I do have to show up beautiful for them, then they already find me beautiful. And I don't have to try so hard, and I don't have to be so mean to myself. And I want everyone to know that they don't have to be so mean to themselves. I'm recording this on March 20th, the first day of spring in 2025, and by this time next year, I will have done a lot more work that's been put ahead of me. When you're in a 4 year, and you might be as well, you'll know because you'll add your month and your day of birth, just your month and day, and add that together until you get one digit. Mine's 3 March 1st, or the 1st of March. So it's either 31 or 13. Either way, I got a karmic debt number. March 1st, 3 1, that's a 4. If you're an 11, 11, that's a 4. If you're a 11-12, if you're 9-22, stuff like that. If you're an 8-5 or a 5-8, 7-6, all that. And you just keep adding until, like, you can literally add them all, just 1 plus 2 plus the whatever, and then you create a digit. Until it's 1 digit. And then you add that to the current date, the month, the day, the year. That'll get your personal day. If you do it with plus the month, if you do it plus the year, you'll get your month, you'll get your year. A 4 often can be a bit more considered critical of themselves or of itself because it's doing its best to have the best foundation to build upon. Otherwise, a tower moment can happen 101 as I say this. So it's like, it's the building blocks, it's the pillars. And if the society is built on pillars that are not the business, then later on it'll fall. So 4 years ago, I planted a seed. Roughly 4. Last year, the year before, and the year before that. The year before that last year. So whenever I planted seeds. And then these seeds started sprouting after a while. And now it's like, oh, these ones are doing well, so they really need some stuff to grow on. And they need some stuff to grow in. Let me make sure that there's not bugs all up in the yard that are going to eat them up. Let me make sure that it's good weather outside. Let me make sure the logistics are right. That we're going to have the fertilizer for whenever it flowers so then it can fruit. Knowing, do these have to be cross-pollinated? Do I have to pollinate them myself? Are they going to pollinate? Do we have pollinators? Like, that's what this year is. This year is gutting the garden and putting up the structure so that whenever it's finally time to put those plants out, that they're going to thrive and chill. And then once I'm done with all this work next year, I'm going to chill. And I'm going to expand. And I'm going to enjoy what the universe has for me. And I will boldly go where I am afraid to go, because fear does not rule me. Love does. That's why I even tell people my name, because I know there is power in a name. And I know when people call on me, they can use my name. But if you see me, you already know my name. Not necessarily through the words, but you know my face, you know my essence, so you can still call on me. Like, people still call on me if they don't know me. In the same way that people can call on you even if they don't know your name, as they know your face, if they know your essence, they can call on it. I've accepted that I'm not in this reality where I only attract people who are going to harm me or take advantage of me. I accept that now people understands that when they take care of me and take good care of me, I take good care of them times a million. It's like the people who truly, truly pour into me, the people who truly have no poor ill intention, and they're not trying to one-up me or whatever, they really want me to shine, they always get blessed in ways that just feel so pure and kind. And when people have done wrong to me, the opposite has happened. And a 44 as I was saying it, and I would get so scared. I did, at one point I wanted to stop making connections with people because I had seen what happens and how people change. whenever they are confronted by the vibration. And then I realized that it just got nothing to do with me. I'm simply a tool being utilized, a hoe being plowed. You don't plow a hoe. But anyway, I'm just a tool in the garden sometimes. Sometimes I'm the garden. Sometimes I'm the seed. Sometimes I am the gardener. But yeah, um, I don't know if I talked about synchronicities. I don't know if this is even really a saga. This is some things about my life, and not even close to all of them, just in the same way it comes with all the other interviews. We don't really ever have enough time to really include everything. Even Viola Davis had a memoir, and she wasn't able to include everything that happened. There were some things that happened so often that it was more of like, and this is the encompassing thing, and this is the encompassing thing. And so far, the encompassing thing for me has been trusting my intuition and following my gut and going where the universe takes me, even if I'm scared, because you can't be brave if you don't do it scared. Otherwise, you're just doing something that's easy for you. But in the meantime, lovies, y'all keep a lookout for the numbers and stay synchronized.